What's up? Hello. We are back with another episode of Sammy and Creepy. If you're new here, my name is Sammy and I like creepy things. And I like to talk about creepy things. And I like to tell you guys about creepy things. So today, I thought that we could read some creepy Ouija board experiences together because I found a bunch of people's Ouija board experiences and they are quite terrifying. So if you would like to get a drink, get a snack, and relax and let me read you these creepy ass experiences, let's go ahead and get started. Probably get a blanket too, because some of them are intense. It spoke in Latin. Doing a board with 6 or 7 people. Only one of my friends knows Latin, and he's not touching the oracle. The contact starts speaking to us in Latin. The same friend later pulled his hand back from the oracle, having received what looked like a small scratch on his wrist. Not bleeding, but bright red, as if fresh. His girlfriend at the time was plagued by a contact they had made and would wake up with strange bruises on her legs. You already know what I think that one is. The creepy doll. I have a terrifying story about a Ouija board. I got a call from my cousin who said that his brother, his dad, and his best friend were using a Ouija board in their basement. Prior to starting, they took a large porcelain doll out of the room because it was creepy and placed it in an adjacent room face down on a pile of towels. My cousin took a short break because the board was just spouting nonsense. His dad and brother and friend started asking the board questions without him. One of the questions was, "Who is in the other room?" It just started spouting random numbers, and when my cousin came back to the room, his brother said that it wasn't working and they were going to put it away, and he showed him the answer to the last question he asked, and he said, "Dude, that's my social security number." Then they started to talk to whatever started spewing answers out. It told my cousin that he would in the Air Force. At that point, they tell the entity they are communicating with to prove itself. It then spelled out the word doll, and they were like, what the fuck? They opened the door to check on the porcelain doll they had laid in the other room. When they opened the door, the doll was standing upright in front of the door, staring right at them. Everyone freaked out and ran out of the house. His best friend burned the Ouija board, and I think he temporarily went nuts for a few months. My cousin, for some reason, then joined the Air Force and is on base in Europe now. Well, I hope your cousin is fine. Don't burn a Ouija board. That's a very important rule. This one is called Choked. I have no evidence and I do not care if you don't believe me. I've used a board with results and let something into my home and have been physically assaulted by this entity. It started out with a feeling that you're being watched and doors closing and footsteps on the hard wood when you are home alone, and progressed slowly into being kept awake by something shaking the bed or pulling off your covers, sometimes even whispering your name. The board would disappear for days on end, then show up in places you never would have put it. I became obsessed with it. Then it was a black mass in the corner of the room, or the silhouette of a man watching you from the doorway. After that, it escalated pretty quickly. I had my hair pulled, fingers pricked, scratched, choked, held down in bed while this thing whispered in my ear what could have only been Latin. We had our house blessed, and that thing hasn't shown back up, just the normal occurrences now, but I will never again play with one of those boards. I am glad that you know exactly what you have done. This one is called I Can See You Through the Window. I was about 12 or 13, spending the night at a friend's house, goofing around with the Ouija board with him and his sister. And we were getting all sorts of gibberish, plus words spelled out, just kind of scaring ourselves for fun, not taking it very seriously. When we got the message, I can see you through the window. And then, I can see you through his eyes. Or something like that. There was just a small window in the basement from where we were, and just the backyard and woods past the driveway visible through that window. We asked it more questions, and it said, I'm under the car. So we somehow got up the nerve to go out with a flashlight and peer under the car, where we saw a huge black stray cat, which was hissing. We ran inside and freaked out, and at that exact moment, the power failed, and all the lights in the house went off. We just about actually shit ourselves. Few minutes later, the power came back on, and we sat up till dawn that night, scared, and never played with the board again. Ew. Our first mistake. My wife and I had some unexplained things going on in the house we were renting, so we got a board so that we could try to figure out what we were dealing with. Bad idea. The board was just a standard plain board. We used it one night to speak with, hopefully, our spirit. What we didn't realize is that Ouija boards open the door for anything to come through and speak. Yes, they do. The looking piece flew off the board near the end of our session, and we had no real answers to anything. We were speaking with something, but it was very evasive with its answers. Things got worse in the house, and we eventually broke our lease and moved. Radios and TVs going on by themselves and water running. After the board, though, things got bad. Voices, moving objects, and my wife says that I got possessed one night, but I can't validate that as I was asleep. We lost 10 hours. My friend and I were about 14 or 15. She had a Ouija board that we would use quite often. I always thought she was pushing it for fun factor. I never took it too seriously. One night we started. It was about 9 p.m. We started getting very strange sayings. None of them I can remember 27 years later. And we got a name. Although the name I have forgotten over the years. It said it was from Malaysia. He was here to protect us. I do remember that much. The next thing I know, it's 7 a.m. It was like we blinked and the sun was up. It was very freaky. We lost 10 hours of our life. Neither of us remember anything about it. We were just sitting there at the table staring at each other like, what the fuck happened? Too bad we didn't have a third person to tell us. She would never use it again. I did, but I never had this happen again. Warning. The last experience I had with a Ouija board, the planchette flew across the room, smashing against the wall of its own power. They are a doorway, and unless you know how to interrogate a spirit, you have no idea whatsoever who or what is communicating with you. You've opened a door and called them through. Oops. Yeah, oops. I need proof. Only did it once when I was like 17 in a room full of people, and one kid said something like, "This is all fake. I need proof." Before he finished the word proof, the lights in the entire house went off. If that was a coincidence, it was the oddest one I've ever seen. No one else was in the house, and the fuse box was buried in the back of a closet. The kid's dad had to come home and turn it back on, said it never happened before. The entire circuit tripped. There's your proof. Photos of what it did. Okay. I'm going to put these photos up here. Warning, they are intense scratches. Okay? 3, 2, 1. These photos are of what happened to me after using a homemade Ouija board tonight. We asked a variety of questions, asking the spirit if it was the one who had scratched my chest, which had been done prior to using the board. It replied yes, and it said that it was here for me and that I was not going to leave. I pray that it will. Well, you better pray a lot and a very hard. C-U-N-T. About 2 or 3 years ago, my friend brought her Ouija board to my house so we could play with it. The first few times it was used, I just watched while some of my other friends used it. Then I decided that I would join in on it. We asked if there was a spirit present, and it went to yes. We asked its name, but instead of just going to the letters to spell it out, it started going to random letters, not making out any specific word. I asked for its name again, and it spelled out B-I-T-C-H. I started freaking out, and then it spelled C-U-N-T. Then it went right back to random letters again. I freaked out and left the room after that. Whatever it was either just really mean or something other than a spirit. Probably never using one again after that. I don't recommend it. S-A-T-A-N. My grandma bans them from her house because once when she was younger, her and her friends messed with one. They asked who they were talking to, and it spelled out Satan. And then her friend, who owned the board, started convulsing, and from then on swore she felt a presence when she sleeps. Girl. Figure 8s. Now, if you watch my Ouija board rules video, one way to know that you're speaking to a non-human entity, a demon, is if it starts making the figure 8 because it's trying to leave the board. A girl brought her authentic Ouija board made out of maple straight from Salem. Ironically, she was very Catholic, but loved her board, and it was a very interesting few nights in the dorm with it. I think the second night we were playing with it, and it was going slow. Not much movement. Meh. I had my hand off the planchette because I still wasn't so sure about that thing. Suddenly, it was like cold fingers grabbed into my shoulders ever so slightly, and this terrible feeling in the back of my mind just came to the surface. I looked at the board, and the planchette started moving in a demonic pattern. I think figure eights this time. I looked at the girl and said, I have a bad feeling about that. In time for her to realize what was happening. She stopped the movement and bid the spirit goodbye. In that moment, the icy grip loosened and all was well. Everyone was like, whoa, when the girl explained that the figure 8 meant that something was trying to get out of the board. This is common lore that goes with Ouija usage. Yes, she is correct. I'm glad she was well educated and knew how to stop that, because, that could have been bad. This is not a game anymore. Perfect story, 100% true. About 15 years ago, my sister had some friends over one night. They were in the basement watching some scary movie. They had a Ouija board. They started cussing at it and calling it shit and fucking fake. It stopped responding, so they began watching the movie again. All of a sudden, all the lights and electricity goes out. They start screaming. Then the TV comes on all static and is blaring noise. They were yelling and crying. Then the TV shuts off and comes back on just to a black screen. The words, "This is not a game anymore," roll across the screen in all white. After the TV shuts off and they're in complete darkness, they run out of the house. Afterwards, they get back to the house and our dog hid when they found it. All it did was bark and look very angry at them. Insane. The dog was pissed. And I would have been too. Why do you leave the dog after summoning a demon? Okay, that was the last one. Those were really good. I love Ouija board stories, especially because they're not mine. Because I would never touch one of those things. I will go on a paranormal investigation. I will not use a Ouija board. But thank you for those that do and give us creepy stories to read. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you had a good snack and a good drink to go with your snack and had a nice blankie. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all the things that YouTube wants me to tell you to do. And don't forget to stay